they want to do things.
Okay,
you know?
so let me ask Saravanan. It's very unfortunate the circumstances that we saw over the last few days. First, a young boy committing suicide, and then his father also taking his own life because of the NEET exam. Now, surely there needs to be, counseling for these students, and whoever needs academic help in bridging the gap between state board syllabus and the NEET exam, that academic help needs to be extended to them. But to say that, in 26 out of 27 states or in 27 out of 28 states, you can have NEET and all students there are undertaking that NEET, including in Tamil Nadu, by the way, but we don't want NEET in Tamil Nadu because some students are committing suicide. That is politics. You would rather, extend psychological help, educational help to those students who are finding it difficult to bridge the gap, rather than say that, one exam does not apply to us or to our state.
Zaka, your premise is wrong. It's totally flawed. We are not opposing NEET just because there was suicides. There are suicides. We are opposing NEET because it is anti-federal. We are opposing NEET because it is anti-poor. These are the reasons why we oppose NEET. And it totally ignores the academic qualifications, what they had undergone until +2. You just clear NEET, you are qualified to become a doctor. We are opposing that. And why should see what is good for the goose is always good for the gander, but not in every case. Why should we follow what is happening in every other state? Because Tamil Nadu is unique. We have more medical colleges, we have a better infrastructure than in any other state. In the last 70 years, we were able to bring out the best doctors. We were able to handle corona in a wonderful way. That is because of the system we are following here. And why should the central government, the union government sitting there in Delhi decide what a student from Kanyakumari should do? That is why we oppose NEET.
But Saravanan, once again,
yes.
but this NEET applies to a student whether you're in Shillong or in Siliguri or in Satara. Why should it not apply to a student coming from Kanyakumari? Admittedly, if there are academic difficulties in bridging the gap, if there are psychological difficulties in bridging the gap, that needs to be addressed. But to say that students in Satara can take the NEET, so students in Bengaluru can take the NEET, but nobody in Kanyakumari will, I don't know how that makes any sense.
Zaka, that is, see, India is multicultural. It is pluralistic. Oneness, this BJP's obsession with oneness has to go away. This toxic obsession, they are trying to homogenize. I am saying what is good for the student in Shillong is not necessarily good for the student in Kanyakumari. I told you the peculiar situation in the state of Tamil Nadu. That is why we are saying we don't want NEET.
Sanju Verma, respond. Education in any case is in the concurrent list. The state governments and state education boards are well within their right to change the syllabi or to implement education policy as they deem fit because it's in the concurrent list. So who then is politicizing, Sanju Verma?
Zaka, I heard your interview yesterday with the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, and I think she elucidated the entire controversy regarding NEET so succinctly. I will just add to that. I think let's not be under any illusion that while education is in the concurrent list, it came into the concurrent list only via the 42nd Amendment in 1976. Prior to that, actually, it was fully in the state list. The reason for bringing it into the concurrent list is because many states were, constantly petitioning the apex court that they were not happy with the exploitative educational practices of various state governments. That apart, I will just read out within 20 seconds what the Justice Arun Mishra bench said when this NEET controversy came up to him, and a number of petitioners said that we want our own state medical exam, we do not want to comply with NEET. And he said that NEET as a uniform entrance examination is essential because it intends to weed out evils from the system and various malpractices which have decayed the system over the years. And then his two colleagues, the three-judge bench led by Mr. Mishra, Vineet Saran and M.R. Shah. Vineet Saran and M.R. Shah added that the rights granted under the Constitution do not come in the way of securing transparency and recognitions of merits in the matters pertaining to admissions if state governments are given a carte blanche to conduct certain examinations. because certain examinations have to be uniform. It is open to students to decide whether they want to sit for a particular exam or not. But to question the transparency of the NEET as an examination method is something that we as a bench do not agree with.
Zaka, 10 seconds to me.
Yeah.
We do not agree with the petitioners questioning the bona fides of NEET. This is what Justice Vineet Saran, Justice Arun Mishra and Justice M.R. Shah of the Supreme Court have said.
So, Sarunan, as a lawyer, please respond to that 30 seconds. I also need to go to Professor Geeta Bhatt. But you know, Sarunan, the bigger problem, the bigger problem than NEET in the state of Tamil Nadu seems to be the privatization of education. You must have seen that clip of a famous college owner asking for 25 lakh rupees to a medical student. Now you tell me, is that the problem or having a common entrance test the problem?
Yeah, I will answer all your questions, Zaka. The Chief Justice of India, Dr. Chandrachud, recently said the sheer volume of litigation of NEET cases is indicative of the hopes and aspirations of millions of students. It is proof that medicine is one of the most sought after profession in India, yet litigation is also symbolic of a need for reforms in medical education in India. This is the view of the Chief Justice of India after the introduction of this NEET. What Madam was talking about, this judgment, it was pre-implementation of the NEET. Now, the only one who is benefiting out of this NEET is the coaching class mafia. Every year, 1 lakh crore is the money that is funneled into this coaching class mafia. Why the BJP is supporting this mafia? And you are talking about this 25 lakh fee. That is the fee.
Zaka, this is wrong. He's lying. He's lying.
They have
Okay, one second. If both of you are talking, we won't be able to hear either of you.
He's lying.
Okay, so let me go to Professor Geeta Bhatt, please.
No, Zaka, I'm not completed. Let me finish this.
Yeah.
No, you cannot.
No, one second. Professor Bhatt has been waiting. One second. Let me. I'll come back to you, Sarunan. I'll come back to you, please. Professor Geeta Bhatt, the issue that opposition states are saying is that in most states, you have central board education, CBSE, you have state board education. The state board education students who are often coming from poorer families, who often don't have access to, English language education in expensive private schools, that is why you have a state board, and that is why in many states, Tamil Nadu is one example, in Kerala also, up until some years ago, you had state entrance tests. So a large number of engineering seats and medical seats and dental seats were through this state entrance tests. When you have one national test, A, these students who are at a disadvantage cannot compete, and B, they are also saying that why should in a federal structure one entrance test decide the fate of millions and millions of students? After all, if you don't qualify through one entrance test, when you have these different state entrance tests, you have the option of taking multiple state entrance tests. Maybe you won't get through one, but you'll get through another.
Well, Zakat, thanks for inviting me on your show, and I would like to put a couple of points. First is that, it was in 2009 that the Medical Council of India, which is one of the most supreme bodies which looks after the medical education and gives its recommendation, it is this body which had recommended that there should be an all India examination, entrance examination for the medical colleges, so that there is a level playing field for the aspirants, those who wish to take up medical education in the universities. And there is the students who are entering into, they are all at the same level. Now, secondly, let me also tell you that the NEET examination, one of the most important changes and a positive change that has come, that again acts as a level playing field, especially that there is a discrimination for those who are non-English speaking or those who have done their education in non-English languages. It is that NEET examination is now held in 13 languages, including Tamil. 13 languages. Imagine that those students who have done their higher secondary education in their regional languages, they have an equal opportunity to compete in terms of sitting for this examination and getting into the medical education. Also, in Karnataka already, in Tamil Nadu, there is already a 7.5% reservation for those who are into who are into government schools and who wish to come into medical education. Now, let us also be very clear in one thing, that in state, those medical colleges which are straight run, 85% reservation is for the state students and only 15% reservation is for all India students who have their merit in the NEET examination. And that holds true for all the states. So that means 85% students of a particular state, they are eligible, they have a preference in getting admission into the medical education.
Okay. All right. So let me ask Dr. Shama Mohammed this. The other issue that, you know, it's a fundamental problem in our education system is, if you are enrolled for engineering and a discipline of engineering, that is all you are taught for 4 years of engineering. If today a student wants to take liberal arts plus science, liberal arts plus applied mathematics, like they do in foreign universities, we don't have an option as per our current education system. That is something that NEP offers. And two, about your point about 4-year degrees, well, if Stanford, Harvard, Yale can all have 4-year degrees, why can't Delhi University or Bombay University?
So that is east to west. We don't need to follow what Stanford is doing. It's what we've been doing, one. Number two, because when you have seen India, what happens? People just take the short route. Let's understand that. So they say, "Arey, 2 saal ka diploma hai. Why should we do 4 years degree course?" So let's understand the Indian mentality. See, one thing she mentioned is wrong, is that the regional language is taught till class 5th in government government schools, and English starts only after class 5th. Let's make that clear in NEP, the new education policy, which I don't agree, because the private school students will learn English much earlier. Now, the other thing, Zaka, which is very important, now which aspect you mentioned about art and science, I agree, but it's not everything we agree on that. Before we get into this, let me ask her one question. Have you stopped, if you want to hire teachers in many states, how do you hire teachers? They pay money, they get hired, and they don't even come. I have my house help who lives in the Rewa district of Madhya Pradesh. His family is there. He says, "Beti jati hai," she goes to school, she eats, and she comes back. She doesn't study anything. They just come and sign and go. Don't you think we need to stop all that before getting into a complicated NEP? And see to it that we have passionate teachers who come there, they get the job because they're qualified, and not because they pay a set amount of money to get that job. That is something which we need passionate teachers, and that's what we are lacking. I come from a state called Kerala, where there are passionate teachers. They really want to see. That's why we've got 96% literacy. Why don't we change that? Why don't we get teachers who are really passionate and work from that level, and then go to this big thing?
So let me ask Sanju Verma. The number of vacancies for teacher positions in government schools across the country is incredible. Should you fix that, or should you be coming up with this NEP, a uniform education policy for across the country?
Zaka, as Nirmala Sitharaman very rightly said to you in her interview, the only thing that the opposition does is oppose for the sake of opposing, irrespective of whether there is merit in their argument or not. I, for one, am very happy that this government has decided to have a 4-year graduation course, because I'll tell you, Zaka, as you rightly said, now the likes of Harvard, the likes of, Ivy League schools like Yale, they say that if you come from an accredited Indian institution and if you get high marks in your WES evaluation, even with a 3-year graduation, we will admit you into a PhD or into a postgrad course. But there are many, like New York University, University of Michigan, UCLA Berkeley, UCLA California, they categorically say, irrespective of the best Indian institution that you pass from, unless you have a 4-year graduation degree, you are not qualified to do a MA or a MPhil or a PhD in either engineering, social sciences, liberal arts, what have you. Now, the second and more important thing, Zaka, very quickly. I have some data with me. It is said, because the NEET controversy needs to be addressed, I will just take 20 seconds. It says there were 1.08 lakh students who opted for NEET in 2021. And you will be surprised to know, Zaka, for everyone who says that the NEET is actually unfavorable to people who are from backward communities or marginal sections of the society. They say in Tamil Nadu, against 43% seats which were reserved for backward caste, more than 46% of the people who got through into NEET from Tamil Nadu came from the backward caste against a mandatory 31%. More than 37% of the people who got into NEET from Tamil Nadu were from the scheduled caste community, and against the mandatory 18%, more than 27% came from the Adivasi community. And it says that students from the districts of Dharmapuri, Pudukottai, Tiruvallur were the people who got maximum admissions from NEET from Tamil Nadu, and apparently they say that Dharmapuri, Tiruvallur and Pudukottai are some of the relatively backward regions from amongst the 38 districts you have in Tamil Nadu. So to say that NEET is discriminatory is hogwash.
If students from Tamil Nadu have overperformed in this same exam that you are saying is discriminatory, then how is it discriminatory?
Yes.
If more backward caste students, more scheduled caste students, more scheduled tribe students are cracking NEET and getting entrance into medical institutions, then how is this exam discriminatory?
Yes, because they have money. All the students who have cleared NEET, let us say 10,000 students who have cleared NEET, 9,999 students would have undergone coaching class. And how much? Around 20 to 25 lakhs is the money the parents have to shell out for this coaching class. Without a coaching class, you cannot crack NEET. And for 50% of them, in the 10,000 students, 5,000 would have been repeaters. This is the bane of NEET. If you don't have money, if you are from a rural area, rural background, where you don't, even if you have money, you don't have access to coaching class, you will not be able to crack NEET. This is the sad reality. Why the BJP is not able to see this writing on this wall. NEET is totally not acceptable.
Okay.
So many students are committing, last 20 students have committed suicide in the state of Tamil Nadu. That is also an important issue. Why? Because they are not able to afford a coaching class. And even if they get a seat, they are not able to pay the fees in a private college or in a private thing, because the government has mandated, union government, the BJP government has said, yes, please fix 25 lakhs rupees as your fees. That is the fees that is collected by all the private medical colleges. They have legalized, the union government, the BJP has legalized capitation fee system.
Okay.
That is the reason
I have to move on. Najma Akhtar is also joining us, the Jamia Millia VC, who is part of the NEP committee under Dr. Kasturi Rangan. But I'll give the final word to Professor Geeta Bhatt, who's the academic on the show. Professor Geeta Bhatt, I think the point about the coaching classes, I think that's a well taken one. This is a problem that has been plaguing Indian education for the last 20 plus years now. You know, to crack IIT JEE, you need to go to coaching class. To crack the medical entrance exams, you need to go to coaching class. I mean, to get into Delhi University, you need to go to coaching class. Why is it that our education system has not been able to fix this fundamental problem?
Zaka, for long, for a very long period, for decades altogether, the education system was such that the students were in a way forced to go for extra coaching. Now, you see, there is no denying that we need to address the problem where students, unfortunately, they give up their lives when they are unsuccessful. But that is an aspect that needs to be taken separately. We need to prepare students to learn to take failure in their stride and still work harder and move forward. So that needs to be addressed, but that is a separate issue. The point is that with the national education policy and with the CUET, which has now basically an entrance exam that is looking into admission into all the central universities, and many other state universities have also joined the exam, has in a way, is trying to change this perception. And this is something which is going to take time, because you see, now once you implement this, at least a decade will be required to the education system completely. But we need to be positive and keep politics out of it. That is very important.
Okay.
Let us not tell the students of certain states from education policy, which is modern and at the same time rooted.
Let's see how this plays out, because the most unfortunate part of this entire controversy around NEP seems to be that one set of students coming from one set of states will be learning one set of things, and students coming from another set of states will be learning something completely different. And that is a great tragedy. That's a grave travesty that we can do to our kids, because they need to be taught facts and they need to be taught the same thing, whether you're studying in Shillong or whether you're studying in Siliguri or whether you're studying in Satara. But we'll leave it at that. We'll see how this plays out. I also want to go across to a special guest who's now joining us. She's the Vice Chancellor of the Jamia Millia Islamia University. She was also a member of the committee under Dr. Kasturi Rangan, which looked into the NEP and came up with the solution of this national education policy. Najma Akhtar, thank you very much, ma'am, for speaking with us. Can you tell us, the rationale as to why you came up with this new national education policy? What was the thought process? What were the shortcomings or the failures in the previous education policy which you sought to address through this new NEP?
Our country is a country which is developing very fast, and it's not fair if we continue saying that so many years back, more than 3 decades back, we had a policy and we are still going to stick to it. So it was very much well in time that this new national education policy, it's called as national education policy, not new, because it's for the whole nation. And this came up, at a very right time, when the country is moving and the world is moving at a very fast pace. And this policy has a very futuristic color. It is not only for this year or for 2 years or 10 years, it's for the future, whole future of the country, like India, which has to move very fast with the other countries, and is also to take up. It has to be among the top 10, top 5 countries of the world. That's why this was very much needed.
One of the concerns that has been expressed about this national education policy, the NEP, is particularly students who are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, poorer backgrounds, who don't have access to English education or a private education, English medium education. They find it hard to make this switch, to adjust to the national education policy. How would you, as a member of the committee that went into it, how will you respond to this concern?
I respond to it, this is totally wrong. This is meant for those students who are coming from poor backgrounds. This policy is meant for those who are coming from different languages, because it gives them an option to take up the language of their choice and study in that, which was missing from our education earlier. So I think this is a wrong notion that this is not for the poor or for the different languages people. I have nothing more to say. This is a very futuristic policy and open to everybody. It's an inclusive policy.
I mean, I know you're an academic and you wouldn't want to get into the politics of what is going on around NEP, but if it is to be implemented the way it is currently, some states are implementing it, some states are saying that they are not going to implement it. What may that mean from the point of view of students? Because students, let's say in Karnataka, will be learning one thing, students in Delhi will be learning something else, students in Chhattisgarh will be learning something else, in Bengal something else will be taught. You cannot have students of one country being taught different things depending on which state he or she is getting an education in.
Education is a concurrent subject. It is the responsibility of the center as well as the responsibility of the states. So the states have a right to do something a little different. But what is being made at the national level is a framework for implementation only. It's not a direction, it's not a diktat, it is not being forced on anybody. Any state can choose from it, learn if it is good, take it up as a whole, or change it according to their needs. The whole country has to move as a whole, as one, not in form of different states. Languages they can choose, any language they can choose. It was not there earlier. Things which were not there is so many languages as part of the teaching, instead of English or only Hindi or only one language. You can teach in any language, write your book in any language, read the books. You must have heard that many books are coming to the market which are in every subject, in every language of the country.
All right, Najma Akhtar, thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us and explaining to us why you believe the national education policy is the need of the hour for students across the country. We'll leave it at that. But I want to now shift focus here on brass tacks to something that's been plaguing the hill states, particularly Himachal Pradesh and also to some extent Uttarakhand. There are reports of massive landslides and flash floods which have left a trail of death and destruction in its wake. Just in the Shimla and Mandi districts alone, we're given to understand that over 50 people have died in the last 48 hours. And the death toll in Himachal Pradesh over the last 2-3 months or so, from the month of June, has been in excess of 200. So clearly, there is a massive problem in the hill states, Himachal Pradesh as well as Uttarakhand. Rescue operations are on. There is deployment of both state as well as central disaster relief forces. The Indian Army columns have also been pressed into service. They are also working along with the state teams there, the quick recovery teams as well. And all of this has been made available to try and rescue people who are still believed to be stranded in places like Shimla and Mandi. There is extensive damage to property as well. Over 600 roads have been completely blocked or damaged, including the key Shimla-Chandigarh highway and also the Shimla-Mandi highway. All right, I want to go across to Bharti Chaturvedi. She's an environmentalist who's now joining us. So one of the key concerns has been that, you know, it's not like there were no rains in the past, it's not like there were no landslides in the past, but the severity of the weather phenomena as well as its impact, particularly this time around, has been much more damaging. Why is that the case?
I think basically it's very clear why that's the case, because the Himalayas have been really badly treated. Firstly, we've just built with these hydro dams where we want. Tourism has been really poorly developed with no environmental consideration. We built highways where we like, and the Himalayas are one of the world's newest mountain range. So they're inherently very unstable, and we've kind of exacerbated that. And unfortunately for us, we are also finding the crisis of basically climate change. So climate change is, you can blame it, but you really have to blame yourself much more.
But Bharti Chaturvedi, one of the other questions that's also being asked is, I mean, these states, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, you know, their main source of revenue, one of their mainstay in terms of the economy is tourism. And for tourism, you need highways, you need better connectivity, you need hotel and resort stays, etc. That's how you attract tourists. How does one balance out both? Because you need the economic progress as well that tourism brings with it, because there are other very few other avenues of employment or revenue generation, and yet at the same time this rampant sort of construction of highways, houses, resorts, hotels, etc. is also leading to problems like this, loosening of the soil, and then, you know, these kind of severe landslides that we are seeing. How does one draw that balance though?
Well, firstly, by using a little bit of engineering and science, because a lot of this has been constructed in places where none of this should have happened. The roads have been broadened, they shouldn't have. And we need to understand that we firstly need another model of tourism, but more importantly, we really have to, even get political will to follow science. You just can't make roads where you want. You can just can't broaden them because people have SUVs and they're willing to pay, to drive in and pay tolls and pay to live in hotels. So I think we've really compromised on our engineering despite having the world's best engineers, and we've compromised on scientific ways of working. And if we don't bring that back, we're going to really, it's no point saying tourism matters for the economy, because it's not being able to serve the people as we're seeing. You've looked at those horrific videos, and people are losing every single thing they ever owned. Housing, building, assets, everything, lives, of course. So we really have to rethink science, I think. And
one final word, and very quickly at that, much of these infrastructure projects, the roads, the highways, the hydroelectric projects, the hotels and resorts, much of this has already been built. The question now is, how do you regulate it? Right? Again, I'm very sure that by next summer, you will have the same drove of tourists back in the hills?
So, first of all, I think the first thing is that you just have to put a complete stop to, uh, um, I first want to say that I don't think tourist lodges are in the same category as dams. So that's a completely different category. There's a whole, the history of India has been about worshipping these dams, and I think that doesn't work. And science is showing us, and nature is showing us that. Having said that, I think we will have to look at a moratorium on dams. We will have to look at, what we're going to do because this is not going to change. Because as glaciers recede from the Himalayas, they're going to lose. Glaciers are a lot of, snow and ice, but there's also a lot of, stone, and this comes down anyway under all that pressure. So you will have that loose stone and stuff, and it is available for causing massive damage
Okay.
continuously. And so we need to know that we need to get better warning systems. We need to see how we can redo and rebuild and remove what is completely unstable. And I think we really need to get more people's opinions on this. Because if
All right.
something's on the edge of a mountain edge, it needs to be undone and given somewhere else. There have to be some steps in the public good.
Okay, we'll leave it at that, Bharti Chaturvedi. Many thanks for joining us and putting that issue into perspective. But some of those videos that we've seen from Himachal Pradesh of buildings just completely collapsing like a pack of cards, it's heart-wrenching. And we sent our colleague Yash to some of these worst affected parts of Himachal Pradesh, Shimla, Mandi, etc. And what he found there was, like I said, it's absolutely heart-wrenching. Our heart goes out to those people there, the locals who have suffered immense damage. Maybe we'll learn from the mistakes of the past and bring in some form of regulation to man-made construction, whether it's roads and highways and hydroelectric projects, and also these private constructions that have mushroomed, resorts, homestays, hotels, etc. Our thoughts and prayers with the people of Himachal Pradesh. These are ground reports filed by my colleagues. Thank you for tuning in.
Landslide which was reported from Shimla's Krishnanagar area has claimed 2 lives. This information has been given to us by the officers on ground who are working continuously to carry out rescue operations. And I'm coming to you, in fact, from that very site where those houses collapsed yesterday around 4 to 5 p.m. in the evening. All you can see around this very space is just destruction, debris, and in fact the broken homes which actually collapsed during that very landslide. This is the debris of around 5 to 6 homes which actually collapsed on the evening of yesterday, when in fact those places were actually emptied by the authorities, because earlier only they were fearing that there could be something like this, and that is the reason why this entire area was emptied by the authorities. Looking at the debris over here, looking at the kind of destruction which has been done due to this landslide is very humongous. You can see these entire homes of concrete. These are not, mind you, these are not wooden homes, or these are not makeshift shelters or homes. These are proper concrete homes which were washed away by, which was actually which were collapsed because of the landslide. You can see how the debris of those very homes has gone from that very top side to this very end, and you can see how cars have also been destroyed in this very case. You can see only here a car has fallen down off this very cliff, and in fact this is the story from Krishnanagar right now. In fact, a lot of lives being affected, and in fact the NDRF officials have confirmed to CNN News 18 that 2 lives have been lost in this case. Shimla, one of the most visited tourist spots across the country, and perhaps one of the most loved ones as well, is facing an unprecedented crisis in its history, where the state is reeling under heavy floods, flash floods, and in fact heavy rains as well. It's very important to understand the aftermath and the after effects of the floods as well. We talked about how the floods claimed many lives, but it is also very important to understand as to how the people of the state are actually bearing the brunt of this entire situation. Is it just the floods which is causing their lives to be miserable, or is it something else? Well, it's a tourist state where a lot of economics depends and economy depends upon the tourism sector. बाढ़ की वजह से आपके बिजनेस पे क्या इफेक्ट पड़ा इस चीज़ का, मतलब कम ज़्यादा वैसा ही क्या?
बहुत कम, क्योंकि टूरिस्ट नहीं आ रहा है, क्योंकि बाहर के वजह से टूरिस्ट बाहर से भी नहीं आ रहा है, तो हमारे लिए बहुत फ़र्क पड़ रहा है।
बहुत फ़र्क पड़ा है। अच्छा बाबू जी, आप एक बात और बता रहे थे कि जैसे आपकी एक मैं थोड़ा शौक था ये सुन के कि जितनी भी प्राइम्स आप चला रहे हैं सब लाइसेंस्ड भी हैं, मतलब सरकार के अधीन रह के आप सब ये काम कर रहे हैं। तो आपकी अगर अच्छा आपके कार्ड भी बने हुए हैं, अगर अच्छा बिल्कुल पूरा एकदम सब चीज़ें मतलब उस हिसाब से चल रही है, सिस्टम के हिसाब से चल रही हैं। मेरे को एक बात बताइए, नॉर्मल समय पे जब टूरिस्ट होते थे कितना कमा लेते थे और अब कितना कमा पा रहे हैं?
नॉर्मल तो सर ऐसा है, नॉर्मल समय पे कमा लेते 3,000 कमा लेते महीने का।
3,000
नॉर्मल पे अभी तो सर रोटी के भी लाले पड़े हुए,
रोटी के भी लाले पड़े हुए,
गुजारा भी नहीं हो रहा। ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, आज तक हमने ऐसा समय देखा नहीं, कभी नहीं। हमारी इतनी उम्र हो गई, आज तक हमें शिमला में ऐसा समय दिखा।
कितने समय से शिमला में आप?
हम हमारे को हो गए सर 20 साल, और इस लाइसेंस बढ़ के हो गया हमारे को 10 साल, जब लाइसेंस बने हमारे ये फ्रेम के।
जी अच्छा, आप बताइए, मैं काफ़ी चीज़ें समझा कि मतलब पूरा प्रॉपर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड बिजनेस है, सब चीज़ें हैं। अभी जो है वो बाबूजी बोल रहे हैं कि रोटी खाने की भी दिक्कत है, इतनी तकलीफ है।
ये तसलियत है सर, समय ऐसा इस वक्त बारिश नहीं रुक रही है, बाहर से कस्टमर भी कैसे आएगा, रोड भी सारे ब्लॉक हैं, तो अब
लोगों को डर लग रहा है।
अब इस वजह से हमारा बिजनेस भी रुक गया है, और कमाई कुमाई का तो धंधा छोड़ो। तो ये है कि भाई 100-200 तो बनता तब भी अच्छा था, 100-200 में भी नहीं बन रहा।
अब 100-200 रुपया भी नहीं बन रहा है, तो कैसे गुजर बसर कर रहे हैं?
अब जो कमाया सर वो खा रहे हैं।
Food is something which is quintessential to every tourist who visits any place or anywhere we go. I am at Mall Road and this is Ajay Dhaba, and the owner is with me to talk about the dynamics and how their business is performing. Ajay जी, ऐसा कभी हालात पहले कभी देखे आपने?
देखो जी, हमारे ज़िंदगी में इतने साल हो गए, मैं 56 साल का हो गया, तो 10-15 दिन भी बारिश होती थी, पर जिस हिसाब से इस बारी जो हुआ नुकसान, ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ ज़िंदगी में। बहुत सारे लैंडस्लाइड, बिल्डिंगें गिर गई, सारे रास्ते बंद हैं। तकरीबन इस टाइम ऑल ओवर शिमला में कोई भी पैदल चलने का रास्ता भी ठीक नहीं है, गाड़ियों का तो तकरीबन बंद है, पैदल भी नहीं चल सकते हैं लोग, तो इतनी बुरी हाल है। और हमारे भी काम पे बहुत असर पड़ा है, क्योंकि टूरिस्ट आते हैं, तो टूरिस्ट से बिना हमारे को काम नहीं है। लोकल लोग तो अपना घर से खा पी के आते हैं, तो मेरे पास भी 2-3 एम्प्लॉइज़ हैं, उनका भी खर्चा यहीं से कर रहा हूँ, सब कुछ खाना भी उनका चल रहा है, अपना भी, तो उतना ज़्यादा काम नहीं है।
आसान भाषा में जैसे अगर किसी को समझाई जाए बात, अगर आज से जब अच्छे साल में अगर आप 100 रुपये का धंधा करते थे या 100 रुपये का काम होता तो आप कितने का काम हो रहा है?
मतलब इस टाइम जो है तो कोई 10-15% काम है सारा ही।
100 अगर पहले 100 का होता तो अब 10 या 15 रुपये का काम?
15 रुपये का काम है, कोई काम नहीं है खास कुछ भी। हमारा अपने परिवार का भी खर्चा पूरा नहीं हो पा रहा है, कुछ भी नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो ऐसा ही चला हुआ है सबके साथ। जो हमारे नौकर बेचारे, इनको भी हमने अभी तनख्वाह नहीं दिया, 1 महीने की रोक रखी है, तो आगे जैसे होगा थोड़ा थोड़ा इनको खर्चा दे रहा हूँ।
This is the place where tourism is the prime earning source of these people. Yes, the conditions are bettering, but still there is a long way to go, because as of now many roads are blocked and tourists are largely not visiting. They're paying their visit to Shimla. I have the manager of one of the very prominent hotels here in Shimla, the manager Mr. Sanjay sir. Sanjay ji, thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. सबसे पहले मैं ये समझना चाहूँगा, पहले कोविड आया, कोविड के बाद लोगों को समय लगा कोविड से उभरने में, फिर उसके बाद टूरिज्म सेक्टर धीरे धीरे खुलने लगा, अब अचानक से शिमला में फिर ये सब बाढ़ देखी जा रही है, लैंडस्लाइड देखी जा रही है, किस तरह का इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है आपकी होटल बिजनेस में?
इसका तो बहुत ही बैड इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है सर। होटल टूरिज्म तो बिल्कुल नील के बराबर है, जीरो ऑक्यूपेंसी अभी ना, कुछ भी काम नहीं है। कोविड के बाद वैसे ही रिकवरी हो रही थी, पर अब ये इसके रेन के कारण बहुत ही बैड इम्पैक्ट है इस चीज़ का। तो क्योंकि आपको रोड की कंडीशन पता ही है, रोड वगैरह बिल्कुल टूट गए हैं, तो इसमें टाइम बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम लगेगा। तो अब मुझे तो नहीं लगता कि 2-3 महीने वैसे ही वेट करना पड़ेगा अभी हमें।
तो इस सब से क्या इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है? क्योंकि आपका बड़ा होटल है, बहुत सारे लोग स्टाफ भी होंगे, मजबूरी में आके क्या निकालना भी पड़ रहा है कुछ लोगों को?
नहीं, ऐसा तो चलो कोई डिसीजन नहीं है मैनेजमेंट का, पर एक्सपेंसेस तो आप समझ ही सकते हो, एक्सपेंसेस होटल के डेली बेसिस पे भी नहीं कवर हो रहे।
क्या कुछ ऐसा कुछ चाहेंगे कि सरकार की तरफ से मदद मिले?
ये तो डेफिनेटली रिबेट, उसमें टैक्स वगैरह में रिबेट कर दे, कोई और चीज़ एक्सपेंसेस जो भी गवर्नमेंट से रिलेटेड कर सकते हो, डेफिनेटली हम चाहेंगे और इसके रिगार्डिंग बात भी करेंगे।
As per 2019 data, Himachal Pradesh earned 11,000 crore rupees via tourism sector, and in fact it accounts for 7.5% of the entire state GDP. So you can just imagine how the larger workforce is dependent upon tourism as their major part of earning. And after talking to various stakeholders, be it hotel owners, be it restaurant owners, or the people who run small rental businesses here in Shimla, they say their future hangs in balance. In fact, they're still struggling to make their end meets because first COVID, then there was an unease in the economy and in particular in the tourism sector because of COVID, and now the state has been struck with a calamity of one of its kind. Right now, they just hope for a better future, and their hope actually rests in the government so that their future could return back to normal. This is Yash Goel with video journalist Rama Shankar for CNN News 18 here in Shimla.
Presented by the criticism from opposition ruled states on the national education policy is it does not take into account the disparity between those who have access to private education, access to English medium education, and those who are in government schools, and therefore the NEP does not adequately take them into account.
You know, there are two issues here. One is about the NEET and one is about NEP. As far as the national education policy is concerned, Zaka, let's be very clear that we had the 3-language system way back in 1968. And the last national education policy which we had after 1968 was actually, the one in 1980s, 34 years back. I think what distinguishes the current NEP from its predecessors is the fact that we are not imposing any language. We are saying that there need not be any compulsion to study either English or Hindi or Tamil or Telugu. You only need to satisfy one criteria. At least 2 of the 3 languages that you take education in should be native to India. And as you are aware, under the 8th schedule of the Constitution, we have 22 recognized languages, and the new education policy says that till class 5, you will be actually given free study material in all the 22 regional/vernacular languages. And while the focus will be on regional languages and your home tongue or mother tongue till class 5 mandatorily, preferably it will be till class 8. And in vocational studies, right from class 6, you will be given skill-based training in regional languages, which was never the case.
Okay.
Which means right from class 6, you're actually inculcating and ingraining the habit of learning in your mother tongue in a person so that he or she later in life does not feel inhibited by the lack of not knowing English or Hindi, what have you. So I think the entire focus of saying no single language will be given preeminence and ensuring that right to equality in its truest sense under Article 14 and under Article 15 becomes the hallmark of new education policy is what distinguishes it from its erstwhile lopsided predecessors.
Okay, so let me ask Dr. Shama Mohammed, the 3-language formula has been in existence in private schools for a number of years now. Even when I was in school, we had a 3-language formula, we had a 3rd language. Now the point is, if let's say for example, a student from your state of Kerala wants to learn English, Hindi and Malayalam or any other local language, what is the issue with that? Why should that not be given precedence or preeminence? After all, in this new NEP, if a person wants to learn all subjects up till grade 5 in their local language, in their mother tongue, that is also allowed.
Okay, Zaka, let us understand one important thing. It's not just about the language. It's about, one, of course, is that part, but there are many other things in this. It's about the centralized sort of structure here. Now, you have the CBSE schools. I went to a CBSE school, and you have the NCERT textbooks in these things. But what happens, what I have noticed here is, in Karnataka, sorry, I'm hearing an echo. Is somebody talking?
Yeah, we'll try and fix that for you, but go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Karnataka, for example, we had promised that we will get rid of NEP before the elections, and we are doing it. Now, I'll tell you the reasons for it. One, we've got complaints from lecturers, teachers, students, vice chancellors of how this has been done. There are degree courses which are 4 years before we have 3 years. I mean, it's normal. BCom degrees. Now they say that if you have a 3-year course, you will not do everybody is going to do a diploma course. I mean, I don't agree on all those things. And in terms of language, what I have read of NEP is that the government schools will have to be in the mother tongue, whereas the private kids are starting at a very early age with English. Let's understand that. Also, the way the NCERT has been completely dominated. We have seen the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi has been removed. We have seen RSS banned after that is not there. 2002 Gujarat riots not there. I mean, this is a whole centralized system which we do not agree on. In a country where there are many languages, different cultures, different castes, different creeds, you do not need to centralize things. You have to leave it to states. Let the state be, because we, unlike France, Italy, Germany, we don't have one language. Russia, we don't have one language. It's not about English. We have multiple languages in this country. So it's the common language amongst all of us is definitely in the south it's English and in the north it's Hindi. So how do you want one shoe to fit everybody?
Okay.
And we have seen what's happened in Tamil Nadu recently, 2 days ago. A son committed suicide because of NEET. The father committed suicide. We have to sit together. We all want a good education policy. I too do. And when you spoke about this class 10th and 12th, let's remember during the UPA times, we got rid of the board exams. And why did they get it back then? At that time, it was Kapil Sibal, the education minister.
Yeah.
So we got rid of it, but they got it back. So they just want to bring about things the way they want to do things.
Okay, so let me ask Saravanan. It's very unfortunate the circumstances that we saw over the last few days. First, a young boy committing suicide, and then his father also taking his own life because of the NEET exam.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Tonight we lead with Saudi Arabia. Oil giant, Islamic leader, Saudi Arabia now wants to become a footballing superpower. Some of the biggest names in world football have been bought by Saudi clubs. Yes, this is about sports washing, but there's so much more to it. The politics, the economics,